So both Pyrrho and the modern mystic have been going back and forth about um, the I and willpower, free will, consciousness. And I wanted to jump in. I'm going to use the telestrator here to try to illustrate or telestrate this concept called the life world, which is something that the philosopher Martin Husserl developed late in his life. And I think it sort of elucidates what it is that the I, what that symbol refers to. Um, and it helps us understand what it means that we exist in a world, a material world, in a sense, though not. Um, it's a material that I think is um, alive in some sense. Um, from my own perspective, matter is um, always already in possession of some sort of interior space. It's not just extensional, as Descartes thought. Matter is also intentional or experiential. It has an interior experience, just as it has an exterior surface. And that's true at every level. It certainly gets more complex when it forms a body like ours, but fundamentally it's already what we call uh, experiencing. Um, it's a being. It has a sense of their being. So when we begin with that and then ask what is the I is a particular way matter has of um, of being. It's the particular way that human beings um, have created for themselves to be. And to sort of draw this diagram, this is the world, and I exist within it. And there's certainly a permeable membrane between myself and the world. But somehow I'm in the world as an individual body, and I have to respond to it from the inside out. I have to, not just because society demands it of me, but because I feel as though I must. I have to give reasons for why I enter into the world in the way that I do. I'm compelled to do that. And I find the world meaningful. It begins immediately for me as something meaningful, as something that I must respond to in an intelligent way, and that I can respond to in an intelligent way. The world is something I can learn from. It's something that I can change. I can have an effect on the world as much as it can have an effect on me because I am in it. Now, of course, when we start to ask, though, what am I? We begin to do philosophy, and what philosophers do is they question themselves out into this ideal realm of pure imagination, pure spirit almost, where anything is possible. It's almost as though they're not in the world anymore. It's as though they've gone to the underworld, they've died and seen the eternal ideas that exist beyond this life. Now, I'm sort of saying all of this tongue in cheek, but at the same time, something is going on here. Human beings wouldn't have spent thousands of years trying to understand what thinking is if thinking wasn't somehow amazing or interesting enough to, keep our attention for so long. So I think what the I is, and what allows the I to be somehow outside of this world, is that it is that which thinks, and so cannot ever be thought. So it never is experienced in the world. The I is the experiencer, and the experiencer is somehow learning from its experiences, and so it has some agency. It has some ability to be in the world autonomously. Now, the reason I think that determinism would ever even come up at all is because of something that what we call science does. It's almost the opposite of philosophy, where they'll begin in this world of sensory experience, and they'll come over into a realm they call the objective world. And the objective world is basically mechanical, so says science. It's a collection of parts put together by nobody. There's no designer, and certainly it changes over time, but it's fundamentally deterministic, and there are laws that um, are responsible for orchestrating the whole thing, and never is any piece of the puzzle out of place. So it seems to contradict our direct experience of actually being in the world. Um, though science is supposed to be empirical, it's supposed to be derived from our experiences in the world. Science uses induction in order to generalize from these experiences, and induction is an interesting problem if what you're trying to prove is some independently existing objective world. It doesn't seem possible to prove. So I think we've got to consider both the philosopher's position and the scientist's position, and recognize them as somehow being possible ways that we can be in the world. I mean, some people really do experience reality, or at least come close to experiencing reality, as though it were this abstract conception of something objective, independent of their own perspective. Um, some people, if you're a diehard atheist, not only to the extent that you disbelieve in traditional religions, but to the extent that you've agreed with the materialistic, reductionistic, mechanistic picture of science, though scientism or positivism, it's not really, science itself is just a method, but if you've identified with the positivist picture of nature, then basically you are living in this world as a human being and suffering greatly because you don't believe it's meaningful. Though even to come up with such an idea, you're obviously already permeated by the meaningfulness of the world. And for you to be somehow resigned to this meaninglessness that you think is present in this world, that already requires some meaningfulness that's given. So we're always in the world, the life world, as Husserl called it. And though we have thoughts, and though we can do science, neither of these occur outside of our, given experience in the life world. And I'll post a link to a Wikipedia article that goes more into this concept of the life world, in case you're lost. But yeah, hopefully that leads us in some new and interesting directions, or maybe not. But yeah, thanks for listening.